Okay, well, thanks everybody for joining to the Node.js Community Technical Steering Committee meeting for April 25th, 2018. We're going to follow our standard agenda, so we'll start out with announcements. I see Francisca added one, which since she's not here, I'll read through. It says, there's 3 open issues asking permission to move the repos into the foundation. Everybody on the TSC and CC, please do quick votes on GitHub. So basically, that's a reminder from Francisca to go check those issues and give your +1 or not, so we can move them forward. Some of them have been hanging out a while, so that's great that she went ahead and did that. The other announcement I'll throw in is that it's the last week to nominate people for the TSC chair and director. So if you're thinking about doing that, just make sure you don't miss the cutoff. I think it's around the end of this week. Any other announcements that people have?
Yeah, so as per the continuing discussion in admin issue 53, some of us have made I guess a sort of trial in a way, Discord, to see how communications might work on Discord. So that's in Node.js issue 53, and I will also post the link both in the internal chat and in the YouTube chat.
Okay, so trial Discord for people. So basically you're asking people to come and try it out, right?
Yeah, I think we're going to see where we can get with it. And I think a lot of people at this point are sort of on the opinion that we should have multiple spaces. So that might include Slack, Discord, and IRC. So we'll see how that works out.
Okay. Just taking a few notes here before we move on. Any other announcements people have?
I think it might be worth announcing Node 10. Just like, yeah, we released this yesterday.
Sounds good.
If somebody missed it for some reason.
Sounds good. So yeah, I mean, that's a great thing to celebrate. Node 10 went out yesterday. Lots of hard work from everybody. And I guess I'll add just, please try it out. Give us your feedback so that we can make sure that, over the next 6 months before it goes LTS, we find and resolve any issues. Any other announcements? If not, okay, let's move on to our tagged items from across the repos. So the first one is 19827, add documentation on porting from buffer arg usage. Let me open that up. If anybody wants to speak to that, jump in while I do that. Okay, I'm just looking to see if there's anything new to discuss on that front. I guess there was a question as to what there needs to be decided. I don't see anything either other than, I guess, maybe visibility. So unless anybody has anything concrete to discuss, I suggest we move on there. Okay, if not, then let's move on to the next issue, which is 19079. And actually, I don't have the title there, so let me add that. Just open it up. That's the tracking issue for runtime declaration of buffer constructor. I don't know, again, if anybody has any specific issues to discuss this week on that front. I know I've seen some work on a short blog post, but I don't know anything other than that. Does anybody else have anything to add? If not, okay, let's move on. Under Node.tsc, there was 2 issues, which was the coordination of NPM releases and wiki management, both of which, having looked in the issue, appear to be resolved. So they were removed from the agenda. So
I don't think the NPM issue is resolved, but it has been removed from our agenda for now. Yes.
Sure. Yes. Okay. So resolved in terms of no question to the TSC at this point. I will, Okay, so tracking issue. The next issue is then a tracking issue for TSC on board meetings. So Miles, I think you'd mentioned that it made sense to leave that on this week.
Yeah, so we have a board meeting coming up on Monday. And so, there was a request to just make sure that, if there was anything people wanted brought to the board, that we would have an opportunity to bring it up. As no one brought anything up in the issue, I'm just going to quickly ask the room, does anyone have stuff that we'd like to have brought to the board? I will take the silence as that we don't. We'll be continuing conversation about a number of different things at the board. Expect a follow-up email summarizing, the public session stuff after the meeting.
Okay, so the next issue is 423, which is the Strategic Initiatives Review. We will just opening this up quickly on the NAPI front while I do that. We're still working on the back for port for 8.x, I believe. Last time I checked, just needed a good CI to get it landed, maybe a few more reviews. And otherwise, we're working on issues that have been opened in the repo, some activity in terms of, potentially adding some new APIs and stuff like that, but nothing really to call out. So going down the list for the people we have. So modules, what's new on the modules front, Miles?
Nothing major to report since last week. We have a meeting in about 2 hours. We're going to be going through more of the use cases, and from those use cases, drawing out features. We are in a yes and mode right now. We're identifying all potential features that a module system may have. And then from that list of all features, we'll be narrowing it down to the features that we want in the implementation that we hope to ship, or at the very least, the implementation that will be made a proposal by the module working group, the module team, for what changes need to be made.
Sounds good. We don't have James, so we'll skip HTTP 2. We don't have.
Can I chime in really quickly, Michael?
Yeah,
before
absolutely.
On the HTTP 2 front, if there's anyone in this meeting who has deep understanding of the HTTP 2 implementation, 8.x is about 70 commits behind master. And it's to the point where it's blocking other things landing. So I took a stab at it, at getting things going, and got some conflicts resolved. But it seemed like there's some symbol table issues, or there's some issues with certain C++ features not being available. I got to the point where I wasn't really confident in being able to move it forward. I will once again volunteer my time to pair with someone on this, but if we want to move this forward, someone is going to need to put some dedicated time into backporting the backlog to 8.x.
I mean, I guess I'm one of the people that you would be talking to. But I don't have much time in the near future, so yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah, I think we can take that offline. And also no pressure. I know what it's like to have no time, so we'll figure it out. We're all volunteers for the most part here.
Okay, on the OpenSSL evolution, we don't have Rod today, but I think they're on track. We're on track for the proposal that he'd sent out earlier in terms of, we went out with 1.0, 1.1.0, and being on track to being able to upgrade to 1.1.1 moving forward. Workers, I don't know, Anna, if there's anything new on that front.
No, not really. At least not from me. It might be worth mentioning that some of the other people who are generally invested in getting worker support into Node seem to be working on more of their own stuff, but we're still having the same issue that we had before. That again, it's blocked on me or somebody else finding time to debug it. And I mean, thank you for trying to reach out to people. I know you did that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I think that's the thing to call out is there is a PR which is important to that effort. and it's blocked on, you know, getting issues on Windows resolved. So really our next step is to try and find somebody to help out on that front. So issue blocking on Windows, trying to get people to help. Okay, so if you know Windows and are interested in moving the worker stuff forward, that's a good place to jump in. Error messages, Joy. And I'm just going to check. I thought I saw, I guess. Yeah, go ahead.
And not much. So we'll be trying to like migrate the rest of the C++ errors. But yeah.
Okay, sounds good. So no major blockers, just slowly working through the backlog, right?
Yeah.
Okay, moving the C++ errors over. Okay, we don't have James, so I'm going to skip the core promise APIs. Miles, I don't know if you want to say anything on TSC governance.
We're going to be meeting to discuss it at the Collaborator Summit.
Okay, so really until then, we'll just skip that in this overview. Does that make sense? Okay, new streams APIs. Jeremiah, do you have anything to say on that front?
It's high on my plate to like coordinate this into a place that we can get more people interacting with it and schedule some more discussions on it, but nothing other than that.
Okay. Just take a quick note there. And then finally, V8 currency. I know, I guess, Michael, you mentioned just nothing special to report, right? Okay, so that's the review of the strategic initiatives. The next issue was 532, which was what WG participations. So I'm just going to open that up, and if whoever added that to agendas here and they want to start talking before I get there, that would be good. Okay, so it was a question, says, so it's from Benchmere, says, I'd love clarifications of what's the current relationship between Node.js and standard bodies, as well as understanding what's the correct way to pursue changes we'd like in what WG specs. So I guess what's our what WG policy? I
can speak to that.
Okay.
The WhatWig is an open group. They do no meetings, and everything is just on GitHub as far as I know. There is nothing stopping us from participating aside from showing up and participating. Any individual who wants to participate in the working group, as far as I know, is able to show up to their repos and to participate in the discussion and try to submit changes. There is a bias towards serving browser vendors at the WhatWig, but that is part of their charter. That is something that we could attempt to try to influence or change that approach. I've had conversations with Dominic Denicola in particular about, the WhatWig and how they see things and how Node can get involved. And that, the biggest push I got was just get involved. And so from our end, kind of looking at the question from Ben, what's the correct way to pursue changes on the spec? I mean, if we want to make sure that as a group, we're on the same page when we're doing it, maybe we should consider spinning up standards, like an open web standards strategic initiative that potentially could also have meetings or some sort of way of coalescing and collaborating and making sure that we're on the same page. I'd be more than happy to help lead an effort like that. But I don't think that there's anything special. It's just if we want to be coordinated on it, we just need to do the work to be coordinated.
Right. If we want to have a Node point of view and bring that, we should coordinate it. Otherwise, people could just get involved on their own, right?
Yep. And and I want to just emphasize that if people want to get involved, they totally should. And they shouldn't feel blocked or needing to wait for the Node project to do anything. And if you want to go and represent what you think supports use cases for Node, that totally makes sense. Although I do think that if you want to be going and explicitly representing Node itself, we should probably be more explicit about that. Since we've also been engaging on TC39, I do think that this actually makes sense for us to have a more explicit initiative around for coordinating.
Right. So I guess, what would our next action, or, did we answer the question, that's it, or do we give ourselves the next action?
I think a good next action would be spinning up some sort of initiative, or at least getting a pulse if people are interested in getting some sort of coordination together. And I can take that. Is anyone else interested in that? I see that we have James has shown up. James, I'm promoting you. And James may have some insight and thoughts into this as well. Hey, James. If you're talking, James, you're muted. If not, it's cool. Yeah,
it sounds like something interesting. It's like many things. It's just the cycle, getting cycles to do something on that front. You'd almost wonder if Benjamin is hoping to maybe volunteer or lead some of that work. Okay, so Miles, you volunteered to just see if there's an interest in forming a group.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Lots of sense to me. Okay, great. So we'll leave it at that. So that's the list of things that are tagged from across the agenda. Does anybody have anything else we should discuss before we move on to the Q&A session? Okay, if not, people watching on the YouTube stream, if you have any questions, please post them now. We'll wait a minute. I don't see any yet. I think I'm looking in the right place. Oh, wait a sec here. So I see. Yeah, I don't see anything in the chat. So I think at this point, we'll say thank you to everybody for watching, and we'll close the meeting. I'm just going to stop the stream.